There was a time when Britain's brewing map was painted with proud regional names. Each town had its own brewery, its own ales and its own flavour of local life. From the smoky pubs of Sheffield to the dockside taverns of Sunderland, from Burton's malt-scented canals to the cobbled streets of Halifax, these breweries weren't just businesses, they were beating hearts of their communities. But over the decades, takeovers, closures and corporate consolidation swept them away, one by one. Today we're raising a glass to 10 lost British breweries that once poured the soul of their towns into every pint, and whose disappearance still leaves a nostalgic ache in the hearts of those who remember. Founded in 1822 by Joshua Tetley, this Leeds giant became Britain's largest car-scale brewery by the late 20th century. Walk into any West Yorkshire pub in the 70s and 80s, and you'd spot those distinctive orange and yellow Tetley's pump clips lining half the bars in town. Tetley's bitter was smooth, malty, and drawn through a sparkler for that perfect creamy head, a pint that felt like home. At its peak, the brewery was churning out 1 million barrels a year, and locals had an almost irrational loyalty to it. But it wasn't just the beer people loved, it was the horses. Tetley's famously kept a pair of Shire horses, Prince and Charles, who pulled drays loaded with casks through the city streets until 2006, their hooves clattering over Crown Point Bridge and down Hunslet Road. For generations of Leeds folk, those horses were as much a part of the city as the brewery itself. When Carlsberg announced closure in 2008 and the site finally shut in 2011, it wasn't just a business that died, it was a piece of Leeds' identity. Old-timers still talk wistfully about warming pints of Tetley's on match days, family occasions, and quiet Friday nights in cosy Hunslet taverns. A taste of pre-digital Yorkshire hospitality that's gone forever. In the heart of Neepsend, Sheffield, the Cannon Brewery opened its doors in 1868 and quickly became a local legend. Its signature brew, Stone's Bitter, a straw golden 3.7% ale first brewed in 1948, was crafted for the city's steelworkers and became more of a religion than a beer. By the 60s, Stone's accounted for 80% of the brewery's output, and its iconic Rottweiler dog pump clip adorned Sheffield pub bars like a badge of honour. Pulling a pint of Stone's in a smoky pub during a Bramall Lane match was a communal ritual, rich with maltiness and camaraderie. The brewery's red and gold dray wagons were a familiar sight on Steeltown streets and pubs across the west. Riding proudly displayed Cannon signage, linking community identity to the brewery. When Bass took over in 1968 and finally closed the site in 1999, production moved elsewhere, but the heart stayed in Sheffield. Even now, locals recall those creamy pint glasses poured at dim-lit counters, the unique flavour that marked their hometown, and the pride of drinking something truly theirs. Stone's was one of the UK's most popular beers in the 80s, and its loss still stings for Sheffielders who long for that taste of home. Springfield Brewery opened in Wolverhampton in 1873, and for over a century it was the beating heart of Black Country brewing. Its most famous ale was Brew 11, pronounced Brew 11, a strong traditional bitter whose slogan proudly declared it was for the men of the Midlands. That bold, no-nonsense character made Brew 11 a touchstone in local pubs, where it was sipped by factory workers, football fans, and families gathering after long shifts. The old Victorian brewery buildings still stand today. Now part of the University of Wolverhampton, their ornate entrance arch a ghostly reminder of busier times. Back in the day, Springfield's dray horses and wagons would rumble through Wolverhampton and Bilston, delivering kegs to cheering pub crowds and railway taverns. Mitchells and Butler bought the brewery in 1960, but by 1991, brewing had ceased. For generations in the Midlands, Springfield ales were more than just beer. They were a link to local heritage, a deep, toasty scent of malts in oak-panelled village inns. Former patrons still talk about sipping frothy Brew 11 with mateys, recalling that hearty, uncompromising flavour. With the brewery gone, many remember it as a fixture of community life. The feel of warm pub evenings and the proud knowledge that what you were drinking was brewed just down the road. Samuel Webster and Sons opened in Halifax in 1838, and for well over a century it was synonymous with Yorkshire brewing. Webster's Pennine Bitter, a smooth 3.7% ale, became a household name thanks to a memorable 70s TV campaign featuring cricketer Fred Truman chanting "Drives out the Northern Thirst." Those green-labelled bottles and pump clips were once ubiquitous in Calderdale's pubs, where locals would gather for easy drinking, multi-pints after a day's work. Webster's vans and drays were a common sight around Halifax and the surrounding villages. People remember picking up casks from the old brewery yard and seeing the cheerful Webster's logo swinging on pub signs. On match days at the Shea, fans would toast their team with pints of Pennine Bitter in hand, a very Yorkshire ritual that felt as natural as breathing. When Carlsberg took over and closed the brewery in 1996, it wasn't just jobs that were lost, it was a piece of local identity. Many Yorkshire folk still lament the disappearance of what felt like a hometown ale, recalling the mild, golden bitters that were part of daily life in friendly village inns and smoky Halifax bars. Webster's carried a sense of community pride, and its absence is still mourned by those who miss that easy drinking maltiness and the warmth it brought. Founded near Portsmouth in the Hampshire village of Horndean in 1847, Gale's Brewery became a beloved fixture of southern English pub life. Its signature brews, Gale's HSB, Horndean Special Bitter, and Gale's Best Bitter, were classic Hampshire ales, smooth, gently hopped, and amber gold in colour, with a balanced flavour that made them a staple on pub pumps from Portsmouth to Southampton. In its heyday, Gale's bright red fox and goose logo was instantly recognisable, and its oak-tanked drays delivered kegs to seaside inns and dockyard taverns across the county. Locals fondly recall Gale's pubs in Gosport, Waterlooville, and village centres, with their mellow wooden interiors lined with pump clips and the sound of beer being drawn from casks on lazy Sunday afternoons. Many Hampshire families associate Gale's with childhood memories, warm pub gardens, family gatherings, and that comforting pint nearby. When Fuller's took over in 2005 and closed the Horndean site in 2006, moving production to London, it felt like a betrayal. For people who grew up in Hampshire, Gale's bitters were genuinely from around here, woven into the fabric of local life. Even today, stumbling upon an old bottle or spotting a faded pump clip brings back memories of community, warmth, and belonging. Gale's disappearance left a nostalgic void that craft breweries and corporate lagers have never quite filled. Ward's Brewery began life in Sheffield in 1837, eventually settling at the Sheaf Brewery site in 1878. For over a century, Ward's Bitter, a light, easy-drinking 3.5% ale with smooth malt character, was the everyday pint of choice for Sheffield's steelworkers and pubgoers. That white pump clip with red script was an everyday sight in South Yorkshire taps, as familiar as the clang of factory bells or the roar of the terraces. Sheffielders remember Ward's drays rumbling down Ecclesall Road, the brewery whistle signalling lunchtime beer deliveries, and the ritual of popping into a backstreet pub for a quick pint of Ward's before kick-off at Hillsborough. The brewery's staff, community festivals, and local sponsorships made it feel like a hometown institution, something ordinary but deeply dear. VAUX bought Ward's in 1972, but when they controversially closed the profitable Sheaf Brewery in 1999, Sheffield lost one of its last true local brews. Many locals still recall the comforting taste of a Ward's Bitter pint in old pubs. Simple, reliable, part of day-to-day life. It was the pint at Friday knockoff, the drink shared with mates after the match, the taste of home. When Wards disappeared, something irreplaceable went with it. That sense of connection, of continuity, of knowing your beer came from just down the road. Cuthbert Vaux & Sons opened in Sunderland in 1806, and for nearly 2 centuries it was the pride of Wareside. Vaux ales were hearty and robust. Double Maxim, a powerful 5.5% ale, and Maxime, a dark stout-like bitter, were poured liberally in Durham miners' pubs, shipyard taverns, and football socials across the northeast. The brewery's green pump clips and accordion player logo are still etched in the memories of Geordies and Mackhams alike. Workers at the Sunderland docks and shipyards would gather in Vaux-owned pubs after grueling shifts, raising glasses of Maxim to toast hard work and harder times. On Tyne and Ware match days, fans would crowd the bars, pints of Vaux in hand, voices rising in song and solidarity. Even into the 80s, the rumble of Vaudreuil's delivering kegs across Wareside was a familiar, comforting sound. When the factory was controversially closed and demolished in 1999, it wasn't just bricks and mortar that vanished, it was a cornerstone of local identity. Many Sunderland residents nostalgically recall the taste of Vaux bitters as something uniquely home, and the loss of community events, brewery open days and sponsored football kits left a gaping hole. The Vaux name has since been resurrected by enthusiasts, but it's not quite the same. For those who remember, Vaux beers were part of everyday northeast life, a symbol of pride, resilience and belonging that's still sorely missed. TRUMAN'S Brewery, originally the Black Eagle Brewery, began on Brick Lane in 1666, making it one of London's oldest and most storied brewers. By the 19th century, it had grown into one of the world's largest, producing iconic London ales and porters that flowed through scores of Spitalfields pubs. TRUMAN'S best bitter and export stout were thick, brown pints downed in dim gaslit taverns by dockers, market traders and EastEnders. The brewery's smoke-filled chimneys and rail sidings were landmarks of the old East End, and the hearty workforce would fraternise in nearby pubs after long days. Brick Lane and Shoreditch pubs wore TRUMAN'S pump clips like badges of honour, and the brewery's presence was woven into the fabric of local life. When Grand Metropolitan absorbed TRUMAN'S and closed the site in 1989, it felt like an East End institution had been torn out by the roots. Though the TRUMAN'S name was revived in 2013, people remember the original as quintessentially London, a local beer they grew up with, part of the city's industrial soul. Today, a faded TRUMAN'S wall sign or a vintage bottle cap found in antique shops triggers memories of classic London ales that built communities and character. The closure marked the loss of something irreplaceable, the local London pint, rich with history and flavour that once defined the East End. WHITBREAD was founded in London in 1742 and grew into a brewing giant, at one point the world's largest. For over 2 centuries, WHITBREAD's bitters and lagers were ubiquitous in London pubs, from the city to the suburbs. Tiger, Keg, Broadside, and the legendary Gold Label Ale were household names, drawn from oak barrels or flashy WHITBREAD fonts in frostier weather. In the 50s through the 80s, London pubs across the city sported the WHITBREAD trefoil logo and cheery posters, and office workers in the old city towers would pop down to WHITBREAD-owned pubs for a lunchtime pint. The sight of WHITBREAD's horse-drawn drays, from taverns in Islington to Crystal Palace, was a fond Victorian image that lingered well into the 20th century. WHITBREAD's smooth pale ales tasted like a proper London pint, malty, comforting, and tied to the city's identity. When the company sold off its brewing business in 2001 to focus on hospitality, the famous Chiswell Street Brewery became a conference venue, and something essential was lost. The WHITBREAD name still evokes London for older locals, They recall meeting at Whitbread Lion pubs, swapping promotional beer mats, and feeling part of a very London story. Its disappearance marked the end of an era, and people miss that historic connection to the city's industrial past, a time when every pint carried the weight of centuries and the warmth of community. Bass Brewery was founded in Burton-on-Trent in 1777 and became a brewing titan. Its pale ale was the world's first registered trademark, marked by the famous red triangle. For over 2 centuries, Bass Pale Ale was Britain's top-selling bottled ale, a 4.6% brew with a distinctive toasty malty flavour that graced pubs nationwide. Seeing that little red triangle on a pump clip was enough to conjure images of golden pub interiors, rustic infires, and the comforting ritual of ordering a reliable pint. Burton's town centre and canals were once dotted with bass pubs and transport. Locals tell tales of wooden bass barrels hauled along barges on the Trent, the smell of malt hanging heavy in the air. Across England, in village pubs and train stations, a pint of Bass was considered a dependable ale, a taste many remember from youth. The brewery offered tours that filled visitors with pride and wonder, a chance to witness centuries of brewing tradition firsthand. When the original Burton plant closed in 2005, though Bass brand beers live on elsewhere, it wasn't the same. For beer enthusiasts, Bass epitomises brewing heritage, a smooth, balanced ale that evokes a bygone era of craftsmanship and care. Even decades later, people reminisce about the old Burton brewery, the pride of ordering a Bass at the bar, and the sense of history in every sip. That local pride, once gone, left a nostalgic ache among Burton residents and British beer lovers that has never quite healed. These 10 breweries weren't just places where beer was made, they were the cornerstones of their communities, woven into daily rituals, local pride, and generations of memories. From the clatter of dray horses on cobbled streets to the warmth of a Friday pint after a hard week's graft, they shaped the social fabric of British life. Their closure didn't just end production, it severed a deep cultural connection, leaving behind only faded pump clips, old bottles, and the bittersweet taste of nostalgia. For those who remember, these lost breweries will always be more than brands. They were home, tradition, and a sense of belonging that no corporate lager can ever replace.